Good evening. Tonight I have the pleasure of introducing Kaylin Krozik, better known as KK. I am lucky enough to call this young lady my daughter. Often expecting parents express a hope of a happy baby, a healthy baby. This phase becomes more of a tagline when your baby is born medically fragile. After years of being a nurse, now I was on the other side of the patient's bed. KK will talk about her patient perspective and how she has benefited from nurses who think outside of the box. Please help me welcome KK and JJ.
Hi, I'm KK, I'm 10 years old, and this is my service dog, JJ. I was diagnosed with mastocytosis shortly after birth. I don't remember a time when I haven't been a patient. My mastocytosis is more severe than most. I have reactions to things such as heat, stress, medication, illness, and activity. Just about anything can cause a reaction. The reactions can be really scary. Some are mild, and others have caused me to have anaphylaxis. I don't have to tell you how bad that is, but I don't want to tell you about the bad parts of my disease, but the wonderful care I have received. So I'm sure you are wondering what this little fluffy service dog does for me. Let me start at the beginning. When I was 4, my mom took me here for a routine appointment. They talked about school, and my allergist just didn't think it was safe. My parents were devastated. This was just one more restriction that was on their quest to give me a normal life. That night they were discussing the doctor's recommendations, and our big golden doodle Nixon put his head on my dad's lap. My dad said, "I wish you could go to school and watch over her." My mom said, "That's it." My dad laughed and thought she was a little crazy. You see, our dog Nixie was named after the former president because he couldn't be trusted. Obviously, he wasn't service dog criteria with all the trouble he would get into. But this was our first thinking outside of the box care. What if a service dog could help keep me safe? After searching the internet for days, my mom hit a lot of roadblocks. You see, I was only 4 and I had a rare disease. Most service dog organizations don't train for young children, and no one had ever trained one for mastocytosis. Our next lesson was to not let roadblocks get in the way. We found an organization willing to train a dog to go get help. As luck would have it, it was 30 minutes from our house. So here's our next outside of the box moment. JJ's trainer, Miss Deb, asked if there was a scent involved with my reactions. My mom told her that she has never smelled anything. She replied, "That doesn't mean that there wasn't a scent that a dog could smell." My mom thought she was a little crazy, but what did we have to lose? Over the next 6 months, we would swab my mouth after reactions and take an article of clothing and send it to JJ's trainer. Guess what? There is a scent involved with mass reactions. Who knew? Over the next 6 months, I dreamed about who my hero would be. I had met JJ and I knew she was the one. You see, JJ was named after the organization's first puppy parents long before I came along. Some call it coincidence that our names are KK and JJ. I call it fate. After attending 2 weeks of training, we were officially partnered with JJ and our journey began. Now not everyone on my medical team was on board with our out-of-the-box thinking. But one thing is for sure, this dog changed my life. She alerts before we see any signs of reactions. This means that I'm able to do things I couldn't do before JJ. I could go outside, I could dance, and I could go to school with my little angel. JJ was also by my side during every hospitalization. My nurses were great. They are used to being patient advocates, so they were excited to hear about JJ's special abilities. Some of my doctors were not so sure. I think they just had a hard time thinking that a dog has superpowers that they don't have. Until one day, JJ made them a believer. I was admitted for infection and on pulse ox and heart monitors. I was sleeping and my mom went to get some caffeine so she could grade some papers. She put JJ in her pop-up crate, not because JJ would have left the room, but because she didn't want to startle anyone who might slip in to take my vitals. Seeing a dog sleeping on the hospital bed was not normal in the pediatric unit. As my mom walked past the nurse's station, she looked up and saw JJ running down the hall towards her. Her first thought was, "Oh no, you're going to get us kicked out of the hospital." JJ running down the hall without her vest. What a sight. JJ immediately alerted her and ran back to me in the room. I was still asleep when JJ jumped on my bed and started to lick me to wake me up, followed by my out-of-breath mom and nurse with rescue meds in hand. My mom and my nurse looked at each other confused because all the monitors were normal, but I could feel my throat swelling and told them I feel like there was a ball in my throat. If they weren't nervous before, that sure did it. The nurse gave me the rescue meds and called for help. As they waited for the meds to start to work, they watched as my oxygen dropped and my heart rate soared. You see, JJ smelled that I was having a reaction before there were any signs on the hospital monitors. She knew she needed to alert, so she unzipped her crate and could smell my mom and alerted her of the impending anaphylaxis. Now those doctors who were a little reluctant to believe in JJ's special abilities had to rethink their stance. JJ made them all a believer. Now that JJ proved herself and her abilities, we had everyone on my medical team thinking outside the box. Several months later, I needed a procedure that required anesthesia. Anesthesia is high risk for patients with mastocytosis like me. My team realized that the best device to keep me safe wasn't their fancy machines in the OR, but JJ and her incredible nose. So my team was again being patient advocates by thinking outside the box. Now they met their biggest challenge. They had to convince hospital administration that bringing a dog in the OR was a good idea. You can imagine that was no easy task. Part of being a patient advocate is being persistent for what you know is best for your patients. After many meetings and my parents having to sign some legal papers, JJ and her trainer came with me to the OR. Having JJ there made me feel safe and less scared, but JJ wasn't there to make me feel better. She was there to work. She gave some alert behavior when I was coming out of anesthesia, the same place where I had trouble with anesthesia in the past. This allowed my teams to make some adjustments and a bad reaction was avoided. She did such a good job. She was back in the OR a year later when I had another procedure. She's now an important part of my surgical team. While I hope to stay out of the OR in the future, I know JJ will be there if I do. JJ's work in the OR made international news and resulted in her being named Service Dog Hero of the Year in 2014 by American Humane Association. But I didn't need any fancy award to know she was my hero. While you may not have a story quite as extreme as rescued puppy turned service dog in the OR, I know you've had a time when you were a patient advocate. I have nurses who hold my hand when I was getting blood drawn, and I've had a lot of blood drawn. I've had nurses who explained procedures to me when I was worried. Sometimes being a patient advocate is the little things. Once when I was admitted, the nurse placed a homemade pillow with paw prints on my bed because in the report she learned her next admission had a service dog. So she knew I would love a pillowcase with paw prints instead of superheroes. Boy was she right, I still sleep with that pillowcase. Joining an organization like STTI is one way of being a patient advocate. International organizations like this can allow you to collaborate with other nurses to become better patient advocates. Being an extraordinary nurse is more than knowing pathology or drug interactions. Yes, those are very important, but what your patients will remember are the times when you thought outside the box to advocate for them. They will benefit from the times you joined forces to support changing healthcare worldwide. Be your extraordinary. Patients like me are counting on you. Thank you.